Pete Honsberger is the author of two books, Wedding Toasts 101 and his latest book, The Curse of Captain Cole, a Sydney Shorts adventure. And he's with us here just now. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Toby? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing smashing. It's great to have you on the show. So this book, The Curse of Captain Cole, a Sydney Shorts adventure, what can you tell us about it?
I can tell you anything you'd like to know, but the place to start is that it's meant for children. It's a children's picture book about the age 4 to 7 range. And this is something that is full of adventure. The themes are really around fun, family, and forgiveness. So it takes place on the open ocean, where there's a child actually leading a ship. He's looking for treasure. He runs into a pirate and finds out that there's some family involved that he wasn't aware of. They have some fun. There is some battle scenes, and ultimately, there's a bit of a resolution, but a little bit of a cliffhanger for potentially the second round of the book. So that's a little bit of what I can tell you. I've got a copy right here, right in front of me, that shows a little bit of the cover and some of the pictures, but the illustrations, I believe, are beautiful, and I might be a little biased, but when I found out I was going to be having my first child about 2 years ago, or about 2.5 years ago, I thought it would be amazing to be able to someday read your own book to your own child. And that's part of the catalyst for taking this from just, an idea that I had or some notes on a page to actually putting it all together and making it into a book.
Yeah. And the cover is certainly impressive, as you mentioned. Are there pictures like that throughout the book?
There are, yes. The entire book is illustrated in 2-page spreads. And so if I open up the first page here, the pictures actually coincide 1 and 2, 3 and 4, so on and so forth. And they're really detailed and really colorful. And so there's a whole story being told on each of the 2 pages that go together. And there's actually a couple pretty cool pages where there's a cannonball being shot from the right side, one side of the page to the other, but it's actually going in reverse of what you'd normally read it, if you're reading left to right. So there's some pretty cool visual images that we play with. And one of my favorite parts of it, too, is that the entire thing rhymes. And so it's this sing-song sort of almost Dr. Seuss sort of, not comparing myself to him at all, but this quality of kids really enjoying hearing something that almost sounds like a song.
And having the themes of fun, family, and in particular forgiveness, do you think they're important themes to have for a children's book?
I think so. And I try not to get too deep into them. So I don't need a 5-year-old necessarily contemplating it for too long. However, what I like is that I've gotten some feedback that when people read this to their kids, especially if they're in that older range of 5, 6, or 7, they're having good conversations with their children after reading the book, because the kids are asking questions like, well, what happened? Why isn't his parents with him on the journey? And then what happens at the end, gives a little bit of indication if he finds out he ends up having a long lost father that he thought had died years ago, who actually he reconnects with. And so it's, there's these questions about why did the dad leave and what's going on? And there's some parallels to the real world, especially if kids have a dad who's, a firefighter who has to work a lot, or somebody who's got a dangerous job, or potentially a dad or a mom, a parent who's not around as much as they'd like. It hopefully opens up conversations like that can lead to some forgiveness and some understanding. Because it's hard for a kid to understand, why isn't my parent here 24/7? What are they doing when they head off to work? And so hopefully it opens up some of those conversations.
Yeah. And what was the inspiration behind the book? Because of course you mentioned it would be great to read your own book to your child, but why did you write this particular story?
I've always been interested in kids' books. I've been interested in those rhyming stories and sort of fantasy. I'm a big fan of the water, the ocean. So that was a little bit of it. I thought it'd be cool to have a story. I'm a big Pirates of the Caribbean fan, the Johnny Depp movies that have been out there. But when it came to actually writing the story, I had a few rhymes in my head that I jotted down in the notebook about 10 years ago. And over time, I added to them little by little, and I wasn't even sure what the direction of the story would be. But I think he was probably coming back from a vacation somewhere on the east coast of the United States, where we had been in the water and we had seen ships, floating by while we're on the beach. And then that sort of turned into a couple more pages and then a couple more pages. And all of a sudden we had this whole sort of treasure hunt theme for the book.
Yeah. And of course, it's actually been out since January at the start of the year. So what's the reaction been like so far?
So far, it's been amazing. It's been positive reaction. We've gotten a lot of family and friends, and of course, they're going to be supportive. But we've noticed that, you can buy it on Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, IndieBound. Basically, you can Google it and find it just about anywhere, and overseas, from the United States as well as in the U.S. But been really positive reactions. We've heard a lot of people tell me that their kids will take them into their room at night and they'll ask them to read it, 4 or 5 nights in a row, which I almost have to apologize to the parents if they do that. But we've heard a lot of, kids who can't read yet like to have it read to them because of the singing quality almost. And there's also, my daughter's almost 2 and she loves to just look at the pictures. So we put a couple animals in it. So there's a page where there's a couple cats. I don't know if you could see here, but a couple cats. Oh, yeah. There's also a bird that hangs out on the pirate's shoulder. And so she likes to point out the animals in it as well as just the pictures in general. So the combination of the pictures for the younger kids and the words and the storyline for the slightly older kids, that's been some of the feedback we've gotten as far as, what they really like about it.
And how long is the book? I'm guessing it's not ages because it suits as a bedtime story.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's 36 pages total. And so that's 18 2-page spreads. So when you open each of those, open the book wide, it's one picture, one scene that's playing out, but 2 pages. So 36 pages, it takes about 5 to 7 minutes to read from start to finish. And we've also heard from some people that they'll read a few pages to their younger kids because they have a really short attention span. They'll read a few pages or they'll skip a few pages and just go through the pictures. And then when the kids get a little bit older, then they'll read the whole thing from front to back. So that's, we try to not make it too long, but we also wanted there to feel like there was some depth to the story. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Llama Llama Red Pajama. It's it's a popular kids book right now, but for really young kids, and it's a rhyming story. And it's a little bit on the shorter end. Well, I see this as that when the kid graduates from a book like that, they want a little bit more depth to the story, a little bit more detail. That's what I've tried to put together. So a little bit longer than that, but not as long as, the children's chapter book.
Yeah. And you've actually self-published this book, right?
I have. Yeah. We went through Ingram Spark, which I believe is based in the Ingram Books, I believe is based in the UK. Went through that whole process, learned a lot and had some fun along the way though. And I used an illustrator that lives pretty close to I do. And she's become a friend. Her name's Sam Brevely. She does an amazing job. So it was nice to be able to collaborate with her, somebody locally. And then we went through Ingram Spark, which is their self-publishing arm. And so they've now made it available just about anywhere books are sold.
Yeah. And how easy is it? I mean, would you might as well do it rather than going to do publishing the traditional way?
I don't know if I'd say it's easy. It's frustrating if you're not really technical, like I'm not. So there were a lot of formatting things that were a challenge to try to deal with. And there is some investment of your own money that needs to go into it. Yeah. However, the amount of rewarding feelings I've had have been more than worth it. And so I think if you have relationships with a traditional publisher, I don't think that's not a bad way to go at all. If you want to get a book out there, you don't want to have to wait, or you don't want to have to pitch endless amounts of agents and publishers, and you really want to see your art or your work be put out there into the world, then self-publishing, it's a great option.
You mentioned earlier, of course, about there being a cliffhanger there for possibly a second book. Have you started working on it yet?
I have. So I'm about 10 pages in, so about a third of the way through the second book, and that is just, it continues a treasure hunt. And so now the two characters who are battling each other in the first book are now on the same team. And we're going to introduce a female lead as one of the protagonists / antagonists. We're not quite sure yet as we're putting that together. But so now we've got Sydney, who's the main character, a young boy. We've got Captain Cole, who is the main pirate, who's now a little bit reformed and he's a little bit on the good side. And then we're introducing a new character who's a female lead to that second book.
Excellent. Well, in the meantime, where can we find this book, The Curse of Captain Cole?
You can find it on Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com. It's on IndieBound. You can Google it. Just the title, Google Curse of Captain Cole. I've noticed if you even just write Captain Cole into the Google search bar, a lot of times this will come up. And if you see the front cover, it's pretty unmistakable, which book you're looking for. But any of those outlets are available to purchase it. It's also hardcover or softcover, also available on ebook. So there's several different ways you can get your hands on it.
Excellent. Well, many thanks for coming on the show today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Toby.